So I'm here with Kathleen Murphy. She's the superintendent of the Concord, New Hampshire School District. I might have a son that goes to one of the schools here in the school district, so I happen to see your end-of-year message with just the strategic plan, which I don't know if I just missed it last year or whatever. It was for 2022 through 2025. So a year into that, it actually works out as a better time to kind of look at it. I think to really see what direction it's going. I mean, just at the onset, like, how was the strategic plan put together? Like, who approved it and such?
Right. It was quite a long process. We were just finishing up from COVID, so it took us a little bit longer just to get the groups together. But our focus was really to reach out. We had 19 different focus groups. We met with, obviously, with our school teachers. We met with our support staff. We met with community folks, administrators, school board, businesses. I met with all of the youngsters in the elementary schools, grade 5. And then middle and high school. So we got feedback from all of those groups. We took all of that feedback around. We asked 3 questions. What's great about the Concord School District? What are the areas that we need to improve on? And what does a profile of a graduate look like? So those were 3 basic questions. We asked the same questions across all of our focus groups to get the information. Once we got that information, we began to distill it, if you will, and we found in that process 6 priority areas, which I think you saw in the strategic plan. Equity was priority number 1. Priority number 2, curriculum, instruction, assessment, which is obviously the bread and butter of the work we do every day. Social emotional learning came out very strong, and I think there are a lot of people in our focus groups who talked about the impact of the pandemic and the isolation that many of our children experienced. So we saw a need to really look again at social emotional issues. Then we looked at communication, because it's always, everybody always says communicate, 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 right? So we want to always work to improve that. Facilities and finance, and then the last one was safety. Again, a very important topic for our students, our staff, and our families. Very concerned about making sure we have all the safety protocols in place for our school buildings, and then it be a safe place for kids. So those are the 6 areas, and that's what we distilled, and then we began to work based on the data that was given to us. We also did a survey. We sent out a survey to parents. We had about 500 responses to our survey, which was pretty good.
Yeah, that's really good.
That's pretty good. And so we took all of that information to create, well, what are we going to do over the next 3 to 5 years? What are the important concepts that people want us to look at? And that's how we built out the strategic plan that you saw. And then we took that plan internally and we built a matrix with all of the goals, the activities, when we were going to do it.
Teachers got to use a rubric.
Yeah, well, I know. And who was going to be responsible and what was the timeline. And by the way, this whole plan was approved by our school board. You know, this was one of their goals was to have a plan, sort of a roadmap, if you will, for the future. You know, we were coming out of, again, the pandemic, and the board really wanted to move forward. And so that's why they charged me with putting this plan together and making sure that we talk to all of our stakeholders.
So I'm going to start off with what would be the tough question from my end. Make no secrets about my political leanings and such, but in the beginning, like, why is equity and diversity the first priority in the list? Is it because it's the most important out of the rest?
No more or no less than any of them. It just happens to be the way we put it out. Obviously, it came up, the equity, and given the diverse community that we live in. You know, you're talking about folks that are in poverty. We talk about youngsters with special education challenges, and sort of all of our new American families and barriers that they may. So that did come up in the conversations. We did meet with a group of parents that represented our new American families, and so that that was one of the discussion points. But no more or no less than important around safety or curriculum instruction. It's just the way it fell in the strategic plan.
And in that section, it brings up an equity audit. Has there been a baseline set for that
Yeah,
yet?
we started that.
Yeah.
We're looking at, especially at the high school, what is the diversity of our AP classes?
Yeah.
Okay, does it represent all of our students? We looked at athletics. Do all of our students, are they accessing those co-curriculars, band, chorus, programs that we have, making sure that we offer our programs to all students.
Yeah, and are you able to talk about at all what those numbers are looking like on the onset?
Well, we're just really in the beginning
Okay.
process of that, in gathering that data and then trying to put a plan together. So I think this year we'll see more of that. We did hire, it was in the plan, to hire somebody to help us with that work. So we have hired we call DEIJ, Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Justice Director. So he works with the kids, he works with students, meets with students, but also is helping us with this kind of work and gathering the data so that we can say, gee, looks like we're good in this area, but we could do better in band or chorus, or we could do better in our AP classes, and we want to be able to do that.
So priority 2 is curriculum instruction and assessment, which is like, for me, like I want to make sure that that's key. It's so important.
You are so right. That's what we're all about,
Yeah.
right? We're all about teaching and learning. I want to make that a priority. When I say priority, it's a priority across the board, as you know. But we knew that. We saw, especially after the pandemic, we saw learning gaps. And so we knew that students, especially some of our really young students who were in kindergarten when they were sent home, at a time when they really, it really impacted their learning.
It was the last time we spoke was like right before masking was going to finally be
knew
removed. I mean, it's huge.
Things. When you think about masks even, the masks impacted our preschoolers, kids who weren't even in school yet, because children learning language watches your lips.
Yeah.
They hear your voice more clearly.
And the talk about the social emotional learning, being able to talk to someone and say, okay, this is what they're saying. So like, is it sarcasm? Are they joking? Are they serious? Are they upset? Like, you need that facial recognition to understand.
There's nothing like a smile for a youngster that and and they didn't have a lot of those things. So the curriculum was really around working. This past year we worked in mathematics and social studies, so we have the competencies all done, and we're working on the next set of science and English language arts. In terms of instruction, always bringing forward pedagogy. You know, we've learned a lot. We learned from the great disruptor. I call the pandemic the great disruptor, right? Yeah. But we also know that there are a lot of avenues. We know that kids really, project learning is really important, hands-on learning. We know that for some kids, online learning is a good method for them, not all kids. Yeah. So we've learned a lot, so we're working with our teachers around pedagogy. Those are the strategies that they use in the classroom every day to help our learners. And then assessment, we've put in some new tools so that we can monitor. I call it dipsticking, you know, when you want to check your oil, right? You kind of dipstick and you say, I've got to get more oil. So we check and monitor children's progress 2 or 3 times during the year. Separate from the state assessment. These are much more quick tools to try to get a screening idea.
And I imagine that'd be especially important with New Hampshire school districts have a lot of say over what happens with the curriculum. It's very decentralized, so I'd imagine what you're able to do is more specific to what your teachers are teaching.
Right, so then this year we did what we called data meetings. So we met with every school. They provided us with that data, and so we could isolate, okay, in 5th grade they were struggling with decimals, or they were struggling with mixed numbers of fractions, right? So that we could help the teachers focus on those areas where youngsters may have needed some additional practice. We also identified strengths, so you can work off the strengths. So that assessment piece was really important to us.
And can you give kind of like a progress report, like we're a solid full year in post-COVID, where we're not masking, we're in business as usual?
We have a lot of work to do. I won't kid you. We're seeing progress. We are seeing progress, but we know that we have a lot of work to do. We just got results from the national NAEP. It's called NAEP, and we don't get Concord results. You get national results, but
okay.
Concord students participate in that. It's kind of required.
Yep.
And several of our schools take the test. I think it's only at like 4th grade or 5th grade level, and then again at middle school. And the NAEP scores across the country were not good in mathematics. So we all have work to do. It's not over yet. This work is not over.
Is there any chance that the students did better in the tech side because they had that time, or is it really just it's so different in the classroom using technology versus being at home and the mishmash, everything that's entailed with that?
Yeah, we just believe the personal touch, the relationships that youngsters have with children is really a major piece of the learning process. And you know, when you have a teacher or a coach or a mentor that really encourages you and moves you and pushes you, you respond. That doesn't always happen with the computer and online. And again, not that it works for some youngsters. They're very independent and can do that. But I think we'll see progress, but it won't be overnight.
Yeah. What about the staff and teachers? Like, did you see, was everyone just like, this is great? Was there some tension to deal with the transition to this year, or was it pretty solid?
Oh, right, because there was so many variables.
Yeah.
You know, we knew that we saw an increase in anxiety coming back to school. We saw behavioral issues a bit more on the increase. So things around mental health issues. And so that's an added stressor for our teachers. Remember, they're teachers and they're there for, that piece. And so they had to really, they were very flexible, determined to meet all the needs of kids, but it's taken time and it's been challenging. I think they've met the challenge. But I think they, like administrators, recognize that we still have more work to do.
Priority 3 is social and emotional learning, so it'd be a good thing to specifically
Same kind of
dive
thing.
into.
We're kind of just watching.
Okay.
We put some things into place where we submitted a couple of national grants to get some help so that we can work more closely with like Riverbend, having some clinicians helping us with youngsters who need to have some mental health therapies. So we're doing some work like that to support our youngsters as they, and it's age related, as they get a little bit older, they're able to handle more, but especially in the middle school grades, up to 9th grade, it has been challenging for them. So we're working through grants and some staff, working with social workers and our school psychologists to help not only the youngsters, but give suggestions to the teachers as well as to the families. So they're working with families to help them.
Going off of that, I mean, this is something that's been kind of surprising to me is when I went to school, the guidance counselor. I mean, what is this transition you're seeing with there's different titles for these individuals? Is it a whole new role? Is it what used to be the guidance counselor is something different now?
Well, I think the issues have expanded to such a degree. The counselors, yes, they have interactions with families, but the social workers are trained to be able to find supports to help the family outside of the classroom. So they can make referrals and direct, even around things around housing and food insecurities. Those are the kinds of things that they would do. The ed psychologist is giving teachers ideas around strategies to help a youngster in the classroom, whereas the counselor is dealing with, certainly at the high school, they're dealing with the college and that, but in the younger grades, they're dealing with all the issues. But I think that the days that I probably didn't have one, you had a counselor, and but we've expanded the supports for kids and families.
So I K through 3 for social emotional learning, pretty well aware of it, partly because my son went through it because he's just finished 3rd grade. What does that look like in the after 4th grade range? Like what sorts of things are included in that?
Well, they obviously continuing to do those things, helping kids to make good decisions. So a lot of it is around decision making, making the right choices for themselves. All around, basic things, kindness and politeness and character building. So they continue to do that. As they get up a little bit older, it's more and more discussions around the topics that impact youngsters. You know, how do you deal with the bullying? How do you deal with differences? And how do you explain yourself in a difficult situation? Helping kids learn those skills to be able to navigate the very diverse world we live in. And so those are the kinds of skills they'll do as they get into middle and high school. We put into place both at the middle school and at the high school advisories. So they have a teacher who's their advisor. They meet with them every day, and they just check in, you know, just touch base. They might have a few activities to do, but they also, the advisor kind of keeps a little thumb on them, if you will, just to kind of keep track of them. How you doing in school? How's things going? That kind of thing. Yeah,
and it is something kind of also would carry over to higher education. So they go to college.
Sure.
Most colleges nowadays offer that same sort of thing. I think it's so important to have, especially when you go to multiple classes through the day. You got students that are in all sorts of different ranges of difficulty of coursework and things like that. It's good to have that one person that the beginning or end of the day you interact with.
They can go to, and if they have an issue that they want to discuss with a teacher, then they have somebody they feel comfortable going to because they've developed that relationship. So those are the kinds of things we put in place for social emotional piece.
Is there anything else with the other priorities that we haven't touched on that you wanted to touch on?
Well, of course, safety, but we've been working on that. As you know, we've done a couple of grants. There's another infrastructure grant that we have our eye on to continue to make sure we have enough cameras, we have upgraded on all the safety issues for our buildings. We want some alert systems outside, blue lights, which will alert people to a situation in the building. So we're looking at continuing to increase our infrastructure for that. Obviously, the building issue has to do with a couple of big projects, Memorial Field being one of them, and I'm pretty excited about the partnership we have with the city to take a look and develop a master plan for Memorial Field. It's in dire need of an update. We have huge issues with water. I don't even know what it looks like over there today.
Don't think about it. Don't think it's downpouring out there.
Drainage, but we have issues around bleachers and so forth. So we have now entered into a partnership with the city. And of course, the second one is the Runlet School Project.
Definitely.
We know that when we submitted our application this year, we were 4th on the list. They funded 3.
Of course.
But we've been told that we're number 1 on the next round. Good. So we're continuing to look at land options. The Runlet project, the Runlet site is always a possibility, but we're also looking at other sites in the city to see if there's anything that would accommodate the need. And you know, we have 800 youngsters in that school, plus another 100 plus teachers and visitors every day. So you're talking about buses and parking, and it's not a small situation. So we want to find the right site. So those 2 big projects and facilities are important.
Now we're several years now since the elementary schools were all put in, which
10 years.
Yeah, I
10
mean,
years.
which is 10 years. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I mean, how are they looking? I mean, at this point, my son just finished third grade. Like I said, like we go there and like, oh, this is so cool. It's like it's real fun and it's a great aesthetic that's hopefully makes people smile when they go through it.
Right. All the color. You'll notice that the lighting, everything is sustainability. You know, with all the LED lighting and. But lots of natural light in those buildings, and the design and the classrooms all are really conducive to a positive learning environment. That's what you see when you go to Abbott and when you go to Krista or you go over to Millbrook. So, we want to try to bring that same level of building to the middle school because it is in dire need. But there's other things that we're doing. We're looking at broken ground this summer. And we'll be looking at Beaver Meadow next summer to change up all our HVAC systems. That's big bucks. We're going to
those are expensive.
We're going to use some of our ESSA money to do that. We set aside broken ground about $3 million of that ESSA money to update the HVAC systems to a system similar to the ones that they have at Abbott and Krista and Millbrook. So a dehumidification system.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it really reduces the temperature in those buildings by about 10 degrees. So on
wow.
those warm days,
That'd be nice.
it'll make it a little
I'm
bit
sure the
more
teachers would be
conducive.
very
Yeah.
happy.
So those are two big projects
Yeah.
that we have that underway. So.
Awesome. So what else is the plan for this summer? We're recording this a week after classes have officially ended for the school year. I mean, what's the plan for the next 2 months?
Well, for the next 2 months, we're going to finish up our hiring, and I think we've had a good, robust hiring season. Concord's very attractive to teachers. This is a great place to work, and I think that's the message we've been getting. We also know that we've had some people move on, get promotions, new jobs, which is always, that's the world of work we live in, right? So we're focused on that. This summer we have some curriculum work underway. We're working on, I think I mentioned it before, was a profile of a graduate. We have a team, and we're looking at everyone's favorite thing, report cards.
Yes.
And so we're going to be looking at redoing report cards. So our teachers will be working with administrators over the summer to do that work. There'll be work going on around the buildings. Career and Technical is going to get a new kitchen area, so the youngsters at the high school will have a new facility, a new dining area facility, and learning all about culinary arts. So
cool.
yeah, we're doing things like that. So.
That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Anytime.
Kathleen Murphy, Superintendent of Concord School District. This has been the New England Take, thenewenglandtake.com to get more from me. Like and subscribe if you're checking this out on YouTube, podcast services, social media, and all that. I've been your host, AJ Kierstead.